Hello, my dear friends. I am so excited for this podcast episode to release today. I had the opportunity to sit down with one of my favorite people in this whole wide world, Lindsay Gordon. Lindsay is one of the co-owners of this amazing wellness center in the Waterdown area. It's called Yogashala Wellness Center. So if you're ever in the neighborhood, make sure you pop in. Yogashala has been a prominent fixture in the Waterdown community for the last 10 years. And I'm so happy to say that my journey with Yogashala spans that amount of time. I absolutely love Lindsay. She's a gem of a human. I am in awe of this beautiful space that her and Cheri have co-created, the amazing community that continues to grow and thrive in this space. And what I love about Lindsay is that she's so practical and grounded and down to earth. And that's reflected in the conversation that we had today. I left feeling very inspired to take action and to return to my mat, which is something that I haven't done in a bit. And it was just exactly what I need. So I hope this episode also inspires you in some way, whether it's to deepen your yoga practice, to become more mindful, to create a community of your own, or hell, to start a spiritual business, whatever it is. I hope you enjoy this episode. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Anita Chat Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Anita Rombo. This is the podcast for growth-oriented, high-vibe, and big-hearted people who are ready to show up and glow up to be the best versions of themselves. If you are ready to embrace your most authentic, aligned, and abundant life, one that feels great on the inside and out, then you, my friend, are in good company. Grab your favorite bevy, settle in. We've got lots to chat about.
Hello and welcome to the chat. I am so excited to welcome Lindsay Gordon to the show. Lindsay, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited that you're here. Would you mind introducing yourself for the listeners?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun. My first time podcast guest, so thanks for doing it with me.
I'm sure you're going to be awesome.
All right. Well, I'm Lindsay, and I am the co-owner of Yogashala Wellness Center near Waterdown. I'm also a yoga teacher there, so I run the business with Cheri, my business partner. I'm also a mom to a beautiful 6-year-old girl, and you know what? That's kind of a life. So
sounds like a pretty amazing
short and
life.
sweet.
And for the listeners that are tuning in, Lindsay and I go way back. Like I remember when you were pregnant with your baby. And so, I've been a Yogashala champion since then. And if you guys have been within my ecosystem for quite some time, I do a lot of in-person events through Yogashala. And so it's just a beautifully energetic, great vibe, high vibey place. And Lindsay and Cheri are just awesome humans. And so I was so excited to have you here. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you. That was so nice of you to say.
So
We strive to do.
yeah, totally. And so on that note, obviously yoga is a big piece of your life because you own a studio and you're a practitioner yourself. So can you share a little bit more about your journey into yoga and your own personal experiences with yoga?
Yeah. It started in my mid-20s, 24-ish kind of age as, I was doing other things, running, gym. So it was, I don't remember exactly, but whatever, decided to try yoga out. And I think it kind of started there, really liked it, the physicality of it. And then, I think anyone who starts yoga, quickly can see the additional benefits that it brings. So not just our physical body, it's amazing, makes you strong, it gives you the ability, all those great, amazing physical things, but you really can notice pretty quickly the effect it has on just your mental health, your state of mind. You just feel good after a class, and so that sort of is, both of those things combined, kind of kept me showing up and doing it, and then evolving and moving forward from there.
That's amazing. I mean, I got introduced to yoga at a younger age through my aunt, and it really was such a pillar and foundational piece of my life. But I must admit that over the years, I've always loved yoga, but I'm not as consistent on my mat. And I would say that the most consistent I was right before the pandemic. And it was just such a game changer. So there's nothing like a consistent yoga practice and the joy and you're right. It's more of a mental mind, body, soul type benefit that one can get from it. So then What in your experience like led you to want to pursue a business in yoga and like, first of all, obtain a certification? And having said that, I'm gonna say, though I've had yoga in my life for a very long time, I'm one of those people that, if you see me on the mat, you're gonna be like, "Is this your first class?" And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like it, not flexible and really clumsy. My lefts and rights get mixed up all the time.
I don't even believe that.
So, I mean, I'm in awe of people that can become teachers and actually do a practice at the same time and lead other people, and then let alone establish a business that is just so joyful. How do you do it all? And what made you want to go in that direction?
Well, I think entrepreneurship and owning my own business was something that I guess I decided that I wanted to do in my earlier 20s. I don't know why. My dad was an entrepreneur. Perhaps that's where it came from. But, I look back now and I'm like, was that the right decision? No. Yeah. And so that was sort of already there. And then I was doing a lot of traveling in my 20s. I ended up spending a lot of time in Nicaragua, of all places.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and established just like relationships with the local community, and ended up doing my yoga training there. And I did actually a couple yoga trainings there, a couple separate times. And when you do the yoga training, it really does give you this deeper perspective and knowledge of, the history and the philosophy, and kind of deepens all of that. Allows you to, be stronger in your own body and mind. And anyways, so it was a really cool, really profound experience. And especially doing it in, a country where it's sunshine, palm trees, ocean, good food. Like it was pretty amazing surfing. So it was a pretty good time of life. And then, that was coming to an end, my time spent there, and I was turning 30, and I was thinking, okay, well, now what? And so I started, watching the sunsets on the beach, just dreaming up, this yoga, a yoga studio, a business. So this entrepreneurship and yoga clash and come together. And just kind of and then I came home and met my first business partner, and we really aligned with our visions and what we wanted for ourselves and how we wanted to do it. And so we quickly started writing a business plan. And a year and a half later, we opened Yogashala. It wasn't that smooth, of course, but like there was lots
I had so many questions. I had so many questions, and we're totally going to get into all of them. What's really like gave me goosebumps is one of my current coaching clients and I were just talking about last week how he wanted to register for yoga teacher training in Nicaragua. So I did not know this about you. And I'm like, oh my God, how are these worlds colliding? I got to tell him to tune into this episode.
Yeah.
So in your experience, more like, let's talk a little bit more about the personal transformations that yoga has offered you and can offer other people. How do you feel yoga can serve as that tool for self-discovery, self-growth, personal transformation? Especially I think the people that frequent Yogashala are looking for, they're seekers, right? They're a little bit more deeper. They're looking for like deeper fulfillment. Generally speaking, it's not just about a physical activity, although it could be. So how would you describe yoga as that tool for others and for yourself?
Well, yeah, like you said, it's very different for each individual depending on, where they are and where they're in their life, physically, their situation, all the things. But for me, like, I think it just can bring this like kind of greater awareness of yourself. And maybe that sounds really general, but it makes you more mindful. It makes you more observant of yourself. And because it makes you feel good, like your body feels good, you just want to then continue that, like by putting better food into your body or making better choices in that way, just generally a more healthy lifestyle. So that sort of things that have been for me. And I think it's very grounding. Like now, if things are, a little bit turbulent in life, I crave to be a yogashala. Just yogashala itself is a very grounding space for me. But then like going and doing a yoga practice, it can just really bring just grounding. Just grounding to me means like just making me feel content and calm, and it's a space to allow just like a short amount of time just to focus on yourself and breathe and pause. And so, yeah, and then it kind of can bring you out with maybe a different perspective or a mind shift to then, I don't know, move into your life through that turbulence and maybe a better way. So
you're making me you're making me crave a class. So you'll be seeing me later tonight after the recording.
only room for you, Anita.
So if somebody was just starting on their yoga journey, what kind of advice would you have for them? Or are there specific poses that you would recommend? I know some people who are new to it might feel a bit like, oh, too hard or need to be really bendy or,
Yeah.
what would you say?
Well, we get a lot of new people coming in all the time, people who haven't done it for years or never done it at all, of all varying ages. And so it's really about finding a little bit more about them and where they are in their life physically. There's ailments, there's maybe disease, or there's restrictions, or, whatever it would be. That's the most important thing. And then there's such a variety of different yoga practices that you can do. So we very much, direct and guide towards, definitely more basic, slower stuff, but it could be really restorative and yin that this particular person needs. And we advise them to stay away from, the more vigorous stuff at that time, or it could be the opposite or a mix, or it's kind of fun because it's like constantly getting new people and, them sharing like what's going on with them. It's quite interesting. And it feels like, wow, they have this trust to do that as well, which is really cool. It makes us feel really good that we've, created a really safe space that people are able to do that. And then we direct them based on that. So, one particular pose or anything for any person. So very customizable.
That's one of the beautiful things about yoga, right? Is that you can have different levels even within one class. Like and it's about your practice. It's like you're not comparing to other people. You're, on the mat doing your own thing. Yeah. And if you're really focused, like on your breath and on the pose, like you ain't got time.
No.
What other people are doing. And then you won't topple over.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I know.
That happens. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about your own personal practice, going from a beginner, then doing teacher training in Nicaragua, now owning a studio. First of all, you mentioned you still crave yoga, and that's really beautiful. Like to help ground you in times of turbulence. So do you find that you still have as much time for yoga because it's your job as well, right? Like to run a studio. So do you have as much time? And also, how has your practice evolved throughout all these different kind of evolutions of you as a yogi?
Yeah. Well, definitely time, as you become a parent and you have a full-time job, but whatever it may be, mine is running this place, that definitely cuts time. But, the evolution of my practice has then become that it is integrated into my everyday life. It's not just when I'm on the mat doing yoga, it's that I have taken a lot of what, yoga philosophies or just the lifestyle. And again, like I said, like when you do yoga, you start to feel good. And when you pay attention, you have that awareness, you'll really start to feel it when you don't feel good. And so feeling good feels good. So I can, I make sure I pivot back into that direction because, we all ebb and flow. And so it's just with me all the time, I guess. So, but sometimes the craving goes like, I need a yoga class. And then personally, like when I do my own stuff at home, it's typically pretty slow and I dangle like forward folds and melting heart. So yeah, pretty feel.
Love this.
Yeah.
I'm definitely coming.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, if that makes sense, that it's kind of always with me, I guess. It's always on my mind, different in ways that I, approach my life or challenges or reactions. And so it's always there to kind of guide. And anyways, yeah. And then what was your other question?
Well, I think you kind of answered it, but this is leading me to another question. Sorry, Lindsay, but so you mentioned like you like to dangle and stuff like that. Do you have like a special yoga practice or routine that you often tend to gravitate towards?
So I think it's really like anyone else, probably I know a lot of people have their own, what they like to practice. I kind of take it on like, where am I? What do I need today? if today is what I'm going to do something, or I feel more of an urge to do it based on, how I'm feeling. So perhaps I love like vinyasa and flow and moving in that way. That's like, building the strength and endurance. Um, but then sometimes, it's the yin and the slow stuff that it's like you need. So I don't follow any particular routine. It's really just going by feeling. Yeah. What do I need right now? Yeah.
I love that. That's really beautiful. It's very intuitive, right? Versus like, I'm going to do this on Monday. This is
as I said, I'm not going to keep it fail. Yeah, getting
great. And then, so I'm going to now like kind of switch gears a bit and where the business had, because as you know, like I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, and we're both spiritual and soulful entrepreneurs, but it's just manifested in different ways. And as a coach, I often work with people that are also like very soulful and want to start their own businesses. And as they're going through this entrepreneurial journey, often their dreams, kind of like yours and mine, is like focused on something that they really love and are passionate about. But then when they get to making that their business, they lose some of that passion, or they realize there's like, owning a yoga studio doesn't mean that you're just going to do yoga all day. It means that you're going to do things like, I don't know, balance your butt. Not so many like fun-ish type of activities. So what was something that you weren't as excited about, or you discovered as a result of being an entrepreneur that you weren't kind of expecting in the beginning? And how did you kind of work around that, or find joy in it, or not?
Well, as you probably know, I mean, entrepreneurship can be a lot about like learning as you go, right? So yeah, there was definitely things in the business that I didn't know what I was doing, but when the stage came, we would then meet it and figure it out. But I kind of enjoyed the more business part of the yoga business world. Teaching yoga was actually more challenging for me. And I have way more comfort and ease in the running of the business than I do in the teaching of the yoga.
Oh, would not have guessed that.
You wouldn't have guessed that?
Not at all. You're so comfortable, and you're just so solid in your teaching as well.
It's perfect.
That's also like all over you.
Years in the making. Like I remember at the end of my towards the end of the teacher training, I realized that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to stand up in front of a group of people. Like that didn't even occur to me as I was going through the training. And then I'm like, it's like my biggest fear. I highly dislike like standing in front of a crowd and being the center of attention. So I was like, oh my gosh. So that took me like years to like get over. I would just freak out every class and be so nervous. And yeah. And I still get like that. I've just kind of come to the point where I'm like, well, I'm just going to teach what I know and go in and have fun and like not think too much about it. Like I put thought into it, but yeah, that's evolved. But the business running has just come more easy for me, and I don't mind figuring out all the kind of logistics and all that stuff. It kind of is the opposite, right? I can like hide behind the business.
Well, it's so nice to hear that you also experience imposter syndrome, like even 10 years in.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, shouldn't I be over this by now? But you're right. Like every single day, that's actually what I've enjoyed most about my entrepreneurial journey. You've got a lot more years than I do in this, but every day is just like you're learning, you're trying, you're experimenting. I just love like having conversations with you, even when I'm running by ideas for classes and offerings at your studio. And I'm like, hey, what do you think if we did this? Or what do you but imposter syndrome like comes up every single time I do something completely brand new, and then I'm like, I shouldn't really be feeling this way. So I'm glad to hear
you shouldn't. And I remember we talked about that, and I was shocked when I heard that about you. I'm like, again, super confident, and it's all very intuitive and authentic. So
it's funny how we all have these things, right? You're like, I'm not as comfortable teaching. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
You're amazing. It really normalizes imposter syndrome for anyone out there that's stepping out of their comfort zone and doing something new and following their heart. So
yeah,
I love this message that we're talking about right now.
Thank you.
With that being said, there's I think also some really unique challenges about managing or owning a business,
Mhm.
and that being a spiritual business, because there's a lot of people walk around thinking spiritual people should do this or that, or there's a lot of misconceptions. And at the end of the day, it is a business, and like we are responsible for creating creating a living for ourselves and supporting our family and supporting our communities and being good stewards of money. So did you have any kind of issues with running a spiritually based business in your mind then or now?
Yeah. So I think, in the beginning, um, the money part, like the charging, of stuff, you want it to be an accessible place for people. And
Yeah.
so but you also have to pay your bills and make some money and, do all that. So that was a little bit, I remember that in the beginning being a little bit of a struggle. Um, so we actually ended up creating this membership that we still offer now to those who, a budget is, if the budget is what, stopping you from coming, then, it's a conversation with us. Anyways, that's a side note. We do that. So that was sort of the solution to that sort of feeling. And then like now I think about it and I think how lucky I am to have yoga and wellness as my business and as that influence and inspiration to run the business in such a way that it is done with that foundation hung behind me. And so, making decisions with integrity and compassion and openness and awareness and all these great qualities that you can gain from yoga. Like, I'm so lucky the people I get to be around and like the knowledge and the humans that they are, like it's so cool. Like it enhances my life very much. So I'm super grateful. But so all comes in play with running the business and the decision making and so it kind of intertwines. So yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. First of all, your studio is a beautifully charged, energetic place, and every single individual, whether it's been somebody who's partaken in a service or a person who works at your studio or energy exchange, like they've all been so amazing, and it's a beautiful collection of energy. So I love that place. It's one of my happiest spots too. I really love it. So kudos to you for creating such a nice place for people. I too, like when I first started, really struggled with pricing, and I, to your point, like you just made me reflect on my own journey. Like did things that obviously always felt integrous to me, but like a portion of all my coaching profits goes to charity, and I also have karma coaching, where again it's a conversation, but like I like to gift every quarter, somebody who could really use it but maybe not afford it, services so that they can partake as well. So I think it's really nice that we do things that help us give back and impact our community in whatever way feels right for us. That's really, so that's really nice to hear that you guys do that too.
Yeah, good for you. I didn't know you did that either. So nice to know.
So out of all the businesswomen I know, and I know quite a bit because once you're an entrepreneur, you kind of gravitate towards, those kinds of people. I gotta say, I'm like in awe of you. As I mentioned already, I completely fangirl over you, but your business literally has, first of all, I'm assuming a studio has a lot of overhead. You need props and all sorts of things like that, but you've like literally weathered different business partners, weathered different storms. Like you had a flood in your old location, which I remember shut you guys down for a bit. You guys were open during the pandemic happened and so many businesses folded. What do you think is a secret to your success or your sustainability?
Well, first of all, I have an amazing business partner.
Yes, you do.
She's a good person to have around during catastrophes. I think that again, like a lot of things can just come back to yoga. I mean, in those situations, yeah, it was devastating. I was like in shock during that flood. It like was a disaster. But like in the end, what are we going to do about it? This happened. So now what? And so I think that Cheri and I were really good at just seeing the situation that was in front of us. Don't freak out. And what's the next step? What's next to do then? and then it kind of moved. And then after that, what now? Now, how do we still offer our community yoga? Where do we go? What do we do? And then it just kind of uh, goes from there, and you kind of have some trust as well. We've always had a really good following, our community. Like we've had people for 10 years or more, including yourself. So I say or more, we've really only been open just over 10 years, but um, so you don't want to let anyone down. So, and in the end, that whole thing ended up being actually a really positive thing in the end. So it really brightened up our space. We got a little renovation. Like in the end, all said and done, it was like, oh, that was fine. That was nothing. So I was like,
Yes. It seems like such a little blip now,
yeah.
right? And
Oh, yeah.
and your space now is just gorgeous. I remember you when you were pregnant.
Mhm.
For my 40th birthday, like I rented out the studio and got my favorite yoga teacher to hold a class. And I tell people that it was like more meaningful to me than my own wedding.
Yeah.
Because I don't mean to say that in a bad way. If you came to my wedding, I love you. But
Yeah.
it was a really big affair with like 350 people and just people that I don't even know who they were because they're my husband's parents' friends or whatever. Everyone met really well and I had a lot of love for us, but I didn't feel like it was my close people, right? And when I walked into your studio for my 40th birthday, it was just a whole next level experience of just feeling that love and that connection and that community. And I think it is that part of the community that you've cultivated that has like made you such a standing fixture in our town, right? There's lots of other yoga studios that have come and gone, but you guys have stood the test of time and you guys continue to thrive and expand. And it's just really nice.
Yeah. I think I attribute a lot of that. And just over the years, just thinking about, in the business, like, all the ways to retain clients and get new, like it's a constant thing when you're running a business, right? You're always thinking about that and thinking about the future and all sorts of marketing and this and that. But I think, I don't know, in the end, I think people just want to be like seen and heard and acknowledged and greeted and welcomed and feel safe in a space. Our intention is for greeting people and welcoming people and continuing to grow relationships is exactly from a place like that. And we do that by, remembering people's names and acknowledging them and getting to know them and getting to know their story and inquire to them about their life. And I think Cheri and I pass that down to all the people that work for us as well, that's important. Be available, care about them. And I think that can hold the test of time of, having relationships and building community and trust. And yeah, that builds trust. So
yeah, I would say, especially after the pandemic, I think we're looking and craving belonging and connection now more than ever. And it's such a nice welcome space for us to have nearby.
One thing on that, it was interesting, like when we found this space, it was the end of 2020. And so obviously, an interesting time to upgrade. Cheri's pretty fearless. I'm a little more reluctant, but anyways, our thought was just that was, we weren't opening for another almost a year. And we thought, you know what, at the end of all of this crazy time that we all went through, people are going to need a space to heal and recover and to go and to feel safe to do so. And so that was, I guess, Cheri's last effort to convince me to do it. And I was like, okay, fine. That's true. Let's do it.
That's amazing. Good for Cheri. I also would be pretty risk averse. I feel like, are you kidding me? The pandemic. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Lindsay, I've had so much fun with you here today. An absolute pleasure and a delight to work with you, to have you here. I was wondering if we could do like a little, I don't know, have some fun, like ask you some random questions and just kind of see where it goes. I feel like I know you, but I'm like, maybe I can ask some questions that I don't know the answers to. So, okay.
Do it.
Okay. So here you go. If you could be any yoga pose, which one would you be and why?
It would probably be the ones I mentioned earlier.
Like pose?
Melting heart. It's like
Melting heart.
It's like they're called puppy dog. Really nice for the chest, but you can rest. You got a little effort and ease.
I love it.
Around good one. You can hang out in it for a long time. So yeah, like
awesome. I was like, if she says pigeon,
not anymore.
What's the funniest or biggest misconception that you've ever heard about yoga that you want to clear up?
Well, I think you said it. It's incredible how often that we hear this, but it's that they're not flexible enough to do yoga. And some people are born super flexible just naturally, but a lot of us aren't. And so our response is, that's why you come to yoga, to build the flexibility. So that's the biggest one I hear all the time. And
Yeah,
don't need to be flexible to come to yoga.
I am not flexible and I come to yoga. I can do it. Anyone can do it. And I don't know my left and right. Is there any pose that you struggle with? I mean, you've been practicing for years. Is there still something that you're like,
I think again, it just comes down to like any given day. Like I could, be in like warriors and one day and just be like solid as a rock and it doesn't bother me at all. And the next day I can be on the struggle bus, like screaming, when is this done? I think like, your energy level, your mood, your physicality, all of how well you slept and what you eat, like all of that can just dictate kind of how you feel. So I could struggle in child's pose some days too.
I love the authenticity behind these answers and that you also struggle.
Yeah.
Okay, so if practicing yoga gave you a superpower, what superpower would you say you got from practicing?
Patience and rest. I know that doesn't sound like a superpower, but we don't rest.
It is.
In our world. And we don't give ourselves time, permission. We feel bad. We feel this. We don't think it's important, etc. So yoga kind of forces you to, at some point in the practice, in any given practice, to stop and rest.
You have just convinced me that I absolutely need a yoga class today because I am not patient and I definitely do too much. And yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it on certain days and this week particularly. So yeah, you will see me.
I need that. 8 p.m. yin yoga waiting for you.
Yeah? Okay. I think I'm going to do it, actually. I'm not even joking. Okay, so if you were stuck on a desert island, you could only bring 3 things to practice yoga. What would they be?
Well, the staples. Yoga mat, a block,
Okay.
hat.
I would have done the eye pillows. Those are just...
Oh, that would be nice, actually. Although I don't know if I'd want my eyes closed like that on a desert island. Who knows what's going to come around.
That is true. That's true. Oh, God.
Lindsay, my mind goes.
Do you have any parting words or anything that you want to share with the listeners before we sign up?
I mean, I would just say that we meet a lot of people who are also reluctant or don't think yoga's for them. And maybe it's not. It doesn't have to be for everybody. But just, I don't know, if you're interested, just all you can do is just try. And, if it's something you want to do, don't be scared. And honestly, any age can do it. We have like 85-year-old starting and, I think it's super cool. She's like super spunky lady and she rocks yoga, right? So age shouldn't be a block. So just that, you know what, if you want to do it, don't be scared. It's fun. It feels good. And, everyone should do it, but that's just my humble opinion.
Connect the listeners to your studio. Like all the information for your studio will be in the episode notes. So if you guys are local in the area or you want to follow Lindsay and Cheri on Instagram, please do so. I know it's a beautiful community online and in person. Thank you so much, Lindsay. You just filled my cup and I'm coming today.
You too. Well, I still appreciate this and I always love hanging out with you and hearing your wisdom and, all the beautiful things you have to say.
Please.
Thank you.
That's not. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.
Bye.